I think gacha games are the new League of Legends. Like, everybody talks shit about League of Legends, but there's not a single person who hasn't played League of Legends, you know what I mean? And I always keep coming back to these games, man. I don't know what's with these anime-looking games. I like the way they look, and they have these interesting mechanics sometimes. And I've played Genshin Impact, I've played Zenless Zone Zero, I've played Tower of Fantasy even. I always get drawn to these games, and now everybody's playing Arknights Endfield. And guess what I'm playing right now? Door Kickers, but also Arknights Endfield. Because this game actually came into the gacha market with some ambition, right? And so on top of all the regular gacha game stuff, the combat, the weird-ass anime story, the microtransaction hell, this game, Arknights Endfield, comes at you with a super complex factory building feature. It's kind of like Factorio, but anime. And Mimi like factory building games. So I had to go and try this. And so what's going on with Arknights Endfield? I've played about like 10 hours of this game, give or take, which I know a lot of you are going to say, oh, yeah, it doesn't really get good until like 50 hours. Unless you've played like 100 hours, you really don't know much about this game. Well, you can sue me. So anyway, here's what's going on with Arknights Endfield. To start off, this game has a lot of story. If you don't like games that are constantly interrupting the action and the fun parts for story and cutscenes, this is not going to be the game for you. And I'm not talking about like the first intro. Like I get that the game has to expose the story somehow, and the production value of the cutscenes and the voice acting and all that stuff is actually very impressive. It's the best out of all the gacha games I've played. It's the best presented game. And the story is also actually kind of interesting, really. You do get lost in a bunch of cutscenes there in the beginning, a lot of character dialogue, a lot of exposition, but then the game kind of slowly starts opening up. You're still gonna have a lot of moments later on where you're having fun, and then you gotta go do some boring story stuff that you'd rather not do, but I guess that's just how it is. Another thing that I would rather not do all that much is combat. Combat in Arknights Endfield is like they took the combat from all the other the Genshin games, right? The gacha games. And it's just like that, pretty much almost the same, at least to me, that's what it feels like. The good thing is actually two things. For once, you can actually see the characters that are in your party all around you, actually fighting the enemies in real time. So it's not like this Genshin Impact weird-ass thing where you gotta switch between all the characters, and you are everybody. You have this like multiple personality disorder, right? In Endfield, you actually get all your guys right there, walking, running around, and fighting beside you. It looks much nicer. But also one thing that I guess actually works for me in the combat is that the combat in this game is like completely brain dead. You can literally just hold down the left mouse button and your character will just continue attacking. And then all you have to do is press E sometimes in order to trigger the character combos or whatever, and kind of mash buttons 1 through 4 in order to trigger the character abilities. And as long as you have all your guys kind of upgraded and all your items upgraded and all that shit, it's gonna work out for you. And so in one way, it's kind of weird that the combat is like super brain dead, but it actually works out pretty well for me because I really don't care about the combat in this game, right? I want to build the factories. That's what I want to do. I want to build the factory. I want the story and all the enemies and the combats and all that shit. I want that to go away so that I can build the factories. And it's one thing that I wasn't expecting actually is how the game integrates the factory building elements into all sorts of other parts of the game. So, for example, you start off, you have this main factory area, your initial factory area, where you have your big-ass tower thing. They give all these things these weird technical names that I don't remember. But then you start building these machines, and initially they're all just individual disconnected machines that you kind of put something in, and then later on you go back and you harvest that the product or whatever. And I was like, oh shit, well this is gonna be it, right? Like this game is a gacha game. It's just gonna be fighting enemies and story and collecting endless things, and then you're just gonna be coming back to your factory to harvest some shit that's been left to work itself out inside some machine. But no, the factory building actually gets super complex. Later on, you're having to deal with like conveyor belts and having to generate your own power, and then to generate your own power, you can't just chuck some junk into some generators and it will give you some power. But if you fabricate batteries, then it's going to give you more power. And then, so you have to get your factory to produce batteries so it can power itself. And the process of producing batteries involves the combination of all sorts of other machines that all have to be connected via conveyor belts and shit. And so you got to do some automation. Then you got to figure out if you have to unlock some machinery that you don't yet have. You have to figure out if you have to go fetch some materials somewhere else. So it gets really involved, actually. It gets super complex, a lot more complex than I thought. For the type of game that it is, I thought that they were gonna just use the factory building as like a gimmick, but no, it's actually super well integrated into the whole game. Like for example, when you are out in the open world map collecting all sorts of stuff, fighting enemies, collecting resources, doing side quests or whatever, you will usually come across these old abandoned places, abandoned bases that require you to transfer power from your factory down to these places so that you can unlock chests or unlock doors, activate electrical stuff that you can interact with, deactivate gates and shit like that. And so you have to go and build these antennas and lay down the cables all the way down to these places to get them powered up. And so even the exploration of the map has something to do with the factory building elements, which was, it's very interesting and very well done. And on top of that, you also have the settlements. You'll actually have the opportunity to go and create this settlement for these guys that are out in the wilderness getting attacked by these maniacs. And once you settle this second location, you can also build a small factory there, and that actually becomes a settlement that depends on you. And what these settlements do is you can then trade with these settlements, or sell materials to them, or sell products to them. And as you complete these trade deals, these settlements will level up, you get money, and these settlements also have to be defended every once in a while. So you can put down these automatic turrets, you can go over there every once in a while to fight these guys that will invade. And so like what I'm saying is that you could spend hours in this game just figuring out stuff that has to do with the factories and the settlements and exploration, and trying to figure out how to get more power going on in your factory, or trying to figure out how you're going to produce this other thing, how you're going to reorganize your factory in order to fit in more stuff or to make it more efficient. You could spend hours just on that and just completely ignore the story, the combat. Not for long, of course, because the game wants you to really get going, trying to figure out some shit with some villains and whatever. But I just want to build the factories, really. And this is eventually going to be the downfall of this game for me and for probably a lot of other people, because really the developers are probably not all that interested in you just sinking all your time into the factories. And probably at some point the factories are going to also be like, hey, you shouldn't be here. You should be pulling that lever. You should be, you know, in this gacha game, you should be spinning that wheel, you know what I mean? Much like in all the other games, the Genshin Impacts, the Zenless Zone Zeros, whatever, this game, it will eventually start funneling everything and everybody into the gacha mechanics. And there's already this like massive drama brewing in the community of something about like how the gacha system is kind of dumb and people can't get what they want. And I'm kind of looking at this from the outside and being like, what did you expect? Like, everybody knows these games work like this. I don't really know what's going on. I didn't look too deep into this. I'm not really into these kinds of games all that much. I just came here to say that the factory building is freaking awesome. I'm still logging in daily, even if I'm not playing all that much. I'm still logging in to get all the rewards and stuff. And I will try to continue playing a bit more just to see where it goes. But eventually, these kinds of games, I don't really stick with them for too long. They get very repetitive, very grindy. But if you like these types of games, you've definitely found the jackpot. Arknights Endfield is very entertaining. It's got a lot of variety, like a lot of stuff to do, a lot of stuff to collect, a lot of stuff to upgrade, a lot of stuff for you to lose your time on. And I'm really not an expert in these kinds of games. I can't go way too much into detail about how the game works and all that. But for a type of game that I don't play all that much, this game I would play. There are a few things that I really don't like about the game, aside from the fact that you do get often interrupted with story stuff to do when you really don't want story stuff to do. I think the tutorialization in this game is kind of heavy. Like, they will repeatedly try to teach you how to do things that you've already learned multiple times before. Like, there was this one time where I unlocked some new stuff that I could put in my factory, and then the game started telling me how I could play these simulation levels that teach you how to use these things, like in a practical environment, interactive environment. But the game doesn't just tell you, hey, oh, you know, this is here if you need. No, it forces you to go back there and basically learn all over again everything about how the factory works. And it locks your character. You can't move, you can't click anywhere that you're not supposed to click. They're telling you, hey, now that you finished, click the X on the corner of the window in order to close the window. And I'm like, dude, I've been playing this game for 10 hours. I know how to close a window, but hey, that's games in 2026. As I've said, I don't particularly care for the combat. Also, the UI and like the character upgrade systems, they are very complex at times. Like, you will open up a screen and you don't know what the heck you're looking at until you've like started like exploring and clicking random things and like getting a feel for it. But I've noticed that it's like this in a lot of these gacha games. There are a lot of like systems that feed into systems that feed into other systems that are related to other things that you need to get to put into other systems, and then the screens end up looking like a bit of a jumbled mess. But hey, I've already been rambling too much about this game. The gist of this first impressions video is, out of all of the gacha games that you can play out there for free to play, this one's probably the best. It's probably the best so far. And I think, I'm not sure if it's this year that we have Neverness to Everness coming out. That game's also, I'm gonna have to try that one. It's looking really good with like all the cars and stuff. Like I said, this is the new League of Legends. Everybody hates this shit, but everybody's got to try it at least once. And hey, if you want to try one, try Arknights Endfield. It's pretty good. The factory building is amazing. It gets a lot more complex than it has the right to. The game looks pretty good, sounds pretty good, and the combat is mercifully unintrusive. If you're looking for a nice time sink for the weekend, then I'll definitely recommend Arknights Endfield. It's also recommended that you leave a like and a comment in this video, and a sub if you are so inclined. Keep an eye out for more reviews and first impressions here on the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.